Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up, guys? Dave, Duncan and Kyle back from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Austin-based power trio Grivo. The band's new album, Omit, will be released on January 28th via Church Road Records. So, this is the second album from Grivo, and their first with Church Road Records. And to be honest, the kind of main reason I picked this for review is Church Road Records. They've been doing great things over the last year. We've reviewed a ton of cool stuff from them. Also noticed that these guys are the main support for Slow Crush on their upcoming tour,
which makes 100% sense.
Yep. So. We really enjoyed Hush, that we reviewed that last year from Slow Crush. So I thought this might be kind of interesting to check out as well. Same label, I think. They're both on Church Road, and obviously now touring together in March as well. The only person that I was slightly concerned with was Kyle, because the kind of shoegazy stuff can...
Standard rule though, isn't it, really? Just in general. The only person we're ever concerned with is Kyle. I mean... On
a daily basis. You wake up in the morning, I wonder if he's doing all right.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat at 4 in the morning like that. Kyle! You know what I mean? What's her face in Home Alone when she's on the plane and she goes, Kevin! That's what I'm like, but with Kyle.
You see some smoke rising from the north and you're like, I wonder if that's a church.
Why is he doing that?
Not to. Again.
Yes, so
Kyle loves shoegaze. I don't know what you're on about, Dave.
Well, he does sometimes. Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does not. So we shall see. I've taken a chance and hoping for the best here, but we'll see what happens. I'd never heard these guys before. Hadn't heard the first album, but I was keen to check it out. And from the kind of first single, Tramel, which is the kind of album opener, I honestly thought these guys were either Scandinavian or possibly British, maybe. I didn't get an American feel at all on that first track. Although when I kind of started to listen to the rest of the album, I did feel like there was little moments I'd be like, well, that sounds kind of a little bit like new Deafheaven, a little bit. There's little elements I was like, oh, so maybe there is something there there's something kind of American about it. So although there are kind of those kind of Nordic type vibes to begin with, it also had feels of something else involved. But as you said, I can totally see why they'd be on a bill with Slow Crush. That the pairing makes a lot of sense. And I think I enjoyed this kind of more than I was expecting. I'm a fan of the kind of dreamy kind of shoegaze vibe. Although I will kind of put my hands up and say I was starting to feel a little bit, not burnt out, but it's becoming very popular at the minute. And we did hear quite a lot of it last year. And I know these guys will be like, hey, Dave, second album here, mate. Been doing this a while. We're not new. And that's totally evident in their music. They sound,
also not the band's fault. That's labels. That's labels saying we need to sign up this sound. So anyone that remotely sounds like this at the moment, we need to sign up and put into a profile where you're getting a lot more of it. I think this genre of music has probably been chugging away fine for quite some time. It's just there's a lot of bands being elevated now to our attention through labels and press, because guess what? Shoegaze is the new black.
Well, that's the other thing. Bands are probably hearing it and thinking, oh, this is quite popular. We should maybe get on that. Yeah. But, these guys are on their second album. It doesn't sound like a second album at all. This is very well thought out, very dynamic, perfectly paced. But I think most of all, for me, I just kind of love the kind of warmth of this album. The distortion in particular they used, it's like a kind of very kind of warm kind of overdrive they've got. It just gives the album a lot of nice kind of feeling and texture to it. Same with the vocal tone. Guy's called Timothy Heck. Such an appealing kind of sound. It's very floaty and ethereal, but he's got a real kind of richness that really kind of draws you in. And I think I might have said something similar on the Slow Crush album review, but I think this album kind of works best for me at night. It's a kind of like nighttime drive type album, or a kind of sitting in a darkened room with headphones. It's the type of album that you can get totally lost in. I know that although there are kind of tracks that are like slightly longer than the average, they don't feel kind of like overdone or like they've kind of drawn them out any. I actually think this genre works best when the tracks are a little bit more kind of teased out. It's a bit of a kind of slow burn style. So like a 6 or 7 minute track feels like it's kind of allowing the band to fully show what they can do and take you through all their different sides. I don't think this is the most kind of like hook laden of albums. It's not one that I felt like I was like humming the choruses afterwards. But I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be like that. I think like tracks like Omit and Fatigue was another one that, they have choruses, but they're not written in that kind of like, grab you by the throat kind of way. They just kind of like simmer away, and then they lift the track up a notch as well though. I think my favourite track on the album was track 5, Attuned. Slightly more up tempo, and I mean like slightly more up tempo, but that little kind of increase in pace, I felt kind of really elevated that track, especially in the drums. That kind of extra bit of groove really gave the track a cool feel. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like I can see myself coming back to this album throughout the year. Kind of like in a similar way to like 40 Watt Sun that we reviewed last week. It's a nice kind of chilled album just to stick on in between the kind of heavier albums or releases that we've been checking out recently. And I think in the right venue, this would be really cool to see live as well. I know most bands probably like aspire to play big venues, but I think these guys would sound really like lush in a really small room. Somewhere that holds the volume really well, and the bass kind of like really hits you in the chest, like a kind of Bannerman's in Edinburgh type vibe. I'd love to see them in that kind of size venue. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. As I said, I'm a fan of Shoegaze, so it's not maybe a huge surprise, but I think these guys do it really well. And for a second album, I think they sound like they are further on in their career than they actually are, so I'm excited to see where these guys go next. Duncan, what about yourself? What do you think?
I thought this was great. So yeah, I'm a bit of a mark for this genre at the moment, and I've kind of explained why. I think like Shoegaze is the other. If you imagine a seesaw of extremity, on one side of the seesaw there's doom metal, on the other side there's shoegaze. Both utilise very similar tools. It's just the effect is completely different, but the pacing tends to be the same. And that's kind of where this falls in. There's comparisons to quite a few bands we've listened to in the last year for sure, and I think we can't understate the impact to Deftones. I keep coming back to it. Like, I think Deftones are like, Deafheaven is the obvious one to lean towards because of the sound. I think Deftones is the catalyst, and I think White Pony, I think you can almost go back to White Pony as the Rosetta Stone for a lot of what you're hearing right now. Which is, really exciting because that album not long turned, 20 years old, and I'm starting to really feel that impact of some of those more kind of abstract elements from there. And this kind of falls in with that. But what I liked about Grivo more than like a Slow Crush or some of the other bands we've listened to recently is there's and it might just be my ears because like they're fucked. But there was a more of a kind of jazz approach to the chord progression in here that I really enjoyed. And I think that's why this one doesn't necessarily have the same hooks as some of the other ones. At times this felt very free flow and kind of almost experimental in parts, which I enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed. I think there are moments here where they knuckle down and just give you like a big old slab of bass with that guitar kind of floating over the top of it. And then there's other elements where they kind of know where to lean back on that bass and play something a little bit more conventional to uplift the guitar. And it's those flurries in the songwriting that makes this one stand out to me. Hex vocals are brilliant. I absolutely love them. They've got a kind of breathy tone, which I could listen to all day. I think it floats, whilst at the same time I'll agree, not necessarily being overtly memorable. It's always pleasing to listen to all the way through. So it's maybe an album that doesn't necessarily lean towards hooks.
Yeah.
But then, if there's a genre that kind of can be appealing without being hooky, shoegaze is that genre. It sounds very pretty, very lush.
Yeah.
Warm is the word you use, and I would agree with that, without being saccharine. There's nothing sweet about this album at all.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting balance, and I find the dichotomy of that in albums that are coming out really, really interesting in this genre. Like we've said before, just because shoegaze is a popular genre, doesn't mean it's an easy one, because we've listened to a few last year that sucked balls, and this one isn't that. There's craft, there's organisation, and there's skill in here. It's about 45 minutes long, and it's about 7 tracks long, so you know you're getting longer songs. Yeah. But like I say, that those kind of almost jazz-like elements. And when I'm saying jazz, I'm not like all this fucking yeah. I'm talking about actual like approaches to like chord progression and songwriting. Those elements I think are what kept me coming back to tracks. Even at the 5th minute, I would hear a small flurry or something that'd be like, oh, that's quite interesting. And it's always, against the core of whatever they're doing. They just add these smaller elements in. And the production is great. And I fucking adored the production on this one. I thought it's one of those ones where I can't imagine this album not having this sound. Like even like you were mentioning about the kind of guitar tone. I think even changing that slightly completely changes the dynamic of what you get here. Yeah. So I think they've nailed that down. Very much like yourself, this is an album I will come back to loads this year. It's interesting, it's abstract, it's beautiful to listen to, and it's challenging in parts. I think there's bits here that don't just fall into we need to repeat this riff for 3 minutes. They're conscious of what they're doing in their songwriting, and I think that like kind of really stands out for me. Front to back, I think this is a great album. Never heard of them before. Will be checking out that first album now, and very much looking forward to seeing where Grivo go in 2022.
Yeah, nice. Kyle, what did you think?
This is an album I listen to.
Oh no, I hate when he starts off with that.
Actually, I quite liked it. I think it was really good.
There we go.
First thing I want to say is natural, organic production is automatic 5 out of 5 from it. No. No, you're right. The production on this is just perfect for their sound. If you change any of their tones, it sounds so carefully and carefully thought out and well put together. They've really, really considered each and every little sound and droplet of whatever, each and every little reverb. Is it too much? Is it too little? Is the tone too overdriven? Is it not? That lead guitar makes you want to float on a cloud, It's lovely. It really did enjoy listening to this one. It caught me in the right mood, and I was like, But they have good mix of instruments. There's like electric piano and stuff in there later on in the album, and I thought that was a really, really good addition because it's not like things get old or samey because they have some really nice like progressions and passages and things like this. But it just added an extra thing later on in the album that's when I picked up. I don't know if it's actually true if it's only in the later parts of the album, but that's when I picked up on it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really nice. It's just sort of following along with what other things we're doing. It's really good. It's just, I really enjoyed it. Anything else to say is just going to be doubling up on what you guys said, but absolutely just, could not believe I enjoyed it so much actually, because I'd never heard of them before, like you guys, and I was like, didn't know what I was getting into, didn't read anything about them. I was like, put it on. I was like, this is great. Yeah.
It's actually Timothy, who's the vocalist, also does guitar and keyboard, so he's doing all three. And then just a 3-piece actually. I didn't realise they were a 3-piece.
That was like when you told me that they were a 3-piece at the start there, that surprised me because I would have assumed a minimum 4.
It sounds much bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just pretty faces, Kyle.
Yeah, that's what you need in a band like this, is some pretty stuff to look to. Look at it.
So, what did we score Omit from Grivo? I enjoyed this. I probably enjoyed it just as much as the Slow Crush album. It's very much a kind of kind of mood album again for me. Like when I'm in a particular kind of frame of mind, I can certainly see myself going to this. But as I said, I think I got most out of it when it was kind of late at night. It was really dark. I was out in the car driving, or I don't just go out driving the car at night, by the way. I was out for legit reasons. Or, you know, just...
thanks for qualifying that. We needed it.
Yeah, just creeping about in my car at night. Listen to Grivo.
Yep.
Going on a Grivo run.
Grivo does sound, though, like it does sound like a cereal that you take to be more regular. You know what I mean? It's like high fiber Grivo. It's an interesting name. I thought at first it might be a character from like Star Wars or something. It has that kind of so I don't know where they got the name from. It weirdly works.
It does, yeah.
It does, yeah.
As does the album art. Like the music is so vibrant and colourful that I find the use of kind of just this monolithic black and grey and white like geometric shapes quite interesting against the backdrop of the sound. It's not like if I picked up an album like that, I would expect it to sound very cold, and it's almost the opposite of that.
Yeah. But as I was saying, thoroughly enjoyed this. I'd probably go 4 out of 5 on this one. Duncan?
I'm going to come up just a little bit, Dave. 4.5 for me. I think this is definitely one that I'm going to go back to. This is the first great shoegaze album of the year.
Oh,
I can say that because it's January.
There's a quote for your press, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think you put that in there. Love and kisses, Duncan. Put that as well. But yeah, like I do. I think this is one of these ones as well that I would not be surprised, Dave, if it comes up for you later on in the year. I don't think it'll be a 5 for me, but I think this is one of these ones that you're going to eventually see.
I told you so, Dave. I told you so.
I'm just holding on to them now.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, no, this is the 4.5 for me. Cool. I think is excellent.
And Kyle?
This is like, fuck yeah, but really slow.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It's fuck yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 4 out of 5 for me.
Fuck yeah. This one drops on January 28th. It's out on Church Road Records. I'll put a link below to their Facebook and their Bandcamp. Check it out. Let us know what you think. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. I'm away to pick up some Grivo, and I'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone. Be able to shit through the eye of a needle.